Well, hello, this is Jeff Gaudiosi, and you're on misplacedstraws.com where music comes to life. And my guest today is making his second trip to the site. We last spoke when his band Queensryche was touring behind their record, The Verdict. They've recently released their 16th studio record called Digital Noise Alliance, and it certainly shows that this band is still firing on all cylinders. Please welcome Michael Wilton. Welcome, Mike.
Hey, thank you. I'm glad to be here, and um, I'm on a tour bus, so we'll see what happens.
Actually, I think you're making your way here. Does it the tour start in Connecticut on the 13th, I believe?
Yes, that's right. We're en route.
So, first off, there have been some changes in the band since the verdict in 2019. Parker Lundgren, who played guitar with you guys for about a decade, left, which led to the return of Mike Stone on guitar. Touring drummer Casey Grillo, who's played with you guys for a while now, makes his studio debut with you. Now, you've had working relationships with both Mike and Casey in different versions of the band before. Was there any adjustment that you, Ed, and Todd had to make bringing them into the studio for this version of the band?
Not really. I mean, there was just maybe minor details. If one of the songs had sounded a little different, we microscoped it, maybe just embellished a part so it was more like the original.
Mhm.
But very few. I mean, both of these guys are amazing musicians, and they've had plenty of experience touring. So coming into the Queensryche machine, it was easy to get them placed in and comfortable so that the chemistry and everything, and we could gel as friends, and it was all very smooth. So there wasn't any hiccups or snafus or whatever. So, um, and it's going strong right now. I mean, it's a really good lineup.
Mhm.
Just having a great time playing live. We're killing it.
Mm. That's for sure. I caught you in the spring on that run, and it was fantastic. Um, so now, like I said, Mike had played in the band prior to Parker. Did you and Ed kind of keep up a relationship with Mike? How did he come back into the fold?
We had kept a distant relationship with him, but Eddie had his phone number still in his phone. So when Parker retired, it was just natural for us to uh, what's Mike doing? And of course I had lost his number, so Eddie called him, and he was you know sure, I'll help you guys out.
So, Digital Noise Alliance, fittingly abbreviated DNA, because I think this record really encompasses all of Queensryche's DNA. I mean, there's the heavier stuff that we heard on The Verdict in tracks like In Extremis and Sick Death. There's the more melodic Queensryche style with stuff like The Forest and Behind the Walls. And there's even a return to sort of the heavy prog sound of Rage for Order. I mean, that riff on Chapters, it's the tone, the feel, the sound, it's classic Queensryche all the way around. When you guys begin writing for this record, do you sort of have a sonic blueprint of, we want to bring everything in, or is it just kind of a natural evolution of where you're writing at the time?
Well, it was very organic. It was on the spot, improvised.
Mhm.
So um, most of the songs started from a guitar riff,
Mhm.
and the songs were built that way. And because we were all in a room together, the ideas were instantaneous. They weren't like on email chains, trying to figure out, did he get the email? Was the file too big? Obviously that has its positive um, things, but it's when you're in a room
Mhm.
with a bunch of guys, they're bringing their A game. they're listening and giving their best opinions and ideas. It's just so much more efficient.
Mhm.
And to reiterate what you said, we were basically coming up with 5 or 6 songs a day. So uh, when we got to the point where our producer Zeus said, "Look, guys, we've got 21 songs here. We're going to have to, chop it down to 11 or 12." And then that's when you look at, the type of songs you have. And we did make a conscious effort to not have too many songs that were too similar sounding, or that sounded relatively the same. So that, you're right. Um, I think this album gives a balanced uh, menu of different era of Queensryche, um, all encompassed in a modern, format. So, and yes, we don't want to have 10 songs that are all at 120 beats per minute blazing, right? We want to have the diversity and give the listener, um, a journey, so that this song just sounds like the last song, and this song sounds like the first song, and so they are. We do look at that, and that's something that that you picked up, and that's really cool.
Well, it's funny because one thing I have always loved about this band, and really especially on these last 4 records, is you guys do an amazing job of sequencing a record, of really taking the listener on a journey so that you're not hearing the same thing multiple times. It's kind of a good flow through it, and it all kind of builds up to, the epic, tormentum at the end. The way we kind of consume music now is really different. A lot of bands just put out singles or just put out EPs. Is it still important to you guys to sequence a record and have that feel and flow that this record has?
Absolutely. I mean, it's a lot goes into the sequencing.
Mhm.
It can be built, key wise. You don't want too many songs in the same key next to each other, and you don't want, you know, like, I don't know, different lengths of songs
Mhm.
next to each other that are too similar. So yeah, we sequence um, based on a flow,
Mhm.
a flow of how the songs go, because we still record in our minds as, let's record a record. You know, we're old school, okay? Um, and it's about the listener listening to the whole thing,
Mhm.
not just a single.
Yeah.
It's about, we want to take you on a journey and enjoy from the beginning to the end of the CD or the record,
Mhm.
um, or your pod player or whatever. It's in our minds, it's still meant to be listened that way.
Completely agree. You mentioned Zeus, your producer, Chris Harris. This is the third record that you guys have done with him, and it just seems like a perfect marriage. It's like, as a listener, it's seamless. You could tell the producer gets the band, and vice versa. What is it that he brings that really cements that relationship with the band?
Well, this is Zeus's third album with us, and I mean, he has many positive attributes that make it so easy for us to record with him. He did Condition Human, he did The Verdict, and now DNA. Um, and we've built this relationship uh, with him, and it's a level of trust. It's like, if I'm writing a guitar part and he says, well, maybe it should go here, or maybe you should do this with it. I trust him. I
Mhm.
trust him with my music. He's uh, he's kind of the guy that's outside the box looking in,
Mhm.
and sometimes as a musician or as a band, you get married to the way you originally played it, so you only hear it that way, and he may hear it a different way. And, but anyway, that's, being in a band and having someone with an outside perspective is, uh, that it's, it's needed for us
Mhm.
because, we get fixed in certain ways of hearing and writing, and he can be that spark that takes us in a new direction. So I think, and plus, Zeus, he's a fun guy to hang out with too. He's a really cool guy.
Well, and I think it says a lot about you guys that you're willing to listen to somebody from the outside. Because I think, especially with classic bands like you guys that have been around a while, you listen to their new music and you're like, did anyone ever tell you no? So I give a lot of credit to you guys to listen when somebody comes in and says, yeah, maybe not this, bring it in this direction. Was that a hard adjustment for you, or because you guys got along so well, was it easy?
Well, if you get too comfortable in your
Mhm.
playing or your writing, it's needed. It's a
Mhm.
jolt,
Mhm.
and it's a jolt in a good way. It's constructive,
Mhm.
and it just puts you at the top of your game. You
Mhm.
know the you're that much more above your comfort level. That's what he
Yeah.
strives
Mm. And we talked about the tour you guys are about to start with Judas Priest. Like I said, I caught the show, and when you guys did the spring run here in Connecticut, and was you guys were amazing. I've been a very vocal supporter of this version of the band live. I think it's you guys just blow it away every night. That spring run kind of concentrated on classic Queensryche, especially those early first two or three records. As you guys go out now that Digital Noise Alliance is out, are you going to fold in some new songs, or because it's an opening slot with a classic band, are you going to sort of stick to the songs everybody knows?
well. I mean, you're right. We did stick with the older songs
Mhm.
just because of the demographic and the audience. But hey, we got a new album out, so you may hear a song or two in the
Mhm.
set from DNA.
Mhm.
Uh, yeah,
Yeah. And then will you guys be doing some headlining dates after this run with Priest?
yeah. The Judas Priest tour ends in December,
Mhm.
and then the the DNA headline tour starts in springtime of 2023.
Mhm. Yeah, and earlier on, we talked a little bit about the lineup changes for this record, and Queensryche has had its share of lineup changes over the years. At any point, did you and Ed ever feel like the change was too much and, maybe it's time to move on? Or was it always Queensryche is the focus? We're going to put together the best version of it we can?
I think, yeah, I think we've been doing this so long, Eddie and I.
Yeah.
It's like what 40 years now
Mhm.
or something. Ugh. But it's more of Queensryche is the entity,
Mhm.
and we're just the moving parts in it. The the Queensryche entity is bigger than any one individual. It's the combination of all the individuals, and I don't know much. You just want the best possible outcome of the band members that we
Mhm.
have. And, over the years, people change. They want to go in different directions or do different things in their lives, and that's all part of it. That's kind of all the behind the music business stuff, that you have to deal with. So, um, but it's more about just having the strongest version that you can
Mhm.
to produce what you're doing.
And kind of along those lines, last year, Todd put out just an incredible solo record. you've rarely stepped outside the band to do stuff. I mean, have you ever thought about doing a solo record or another type of collaboration?
Well, I mean, I've done things on the side like licensing music
Hmm.
for television and cable, and you know, kind of like the background music
Yeah.
that you hear like at a sports event or something. So I do that. I've done a couple of releases, back in the day. I've done Soul Bender, and but yeah, I've got stuff in my back pocket.
And talking about Priest, I think you guys were out on the road in the spring run when they first got the notice that they're finally going into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, which is coming up in a couple of weeks. And I think every fan is thinking it's about time and is thrilled for them. But considering how the hall and places like that have really ignored hard rock and heavy metal for decades, do you think a recognition like this means something to the fans and to getting this kind of music back out into popular culture?
Yeah, I think any way you can. I mean, look, rock bands, metal bands, hard rock, they make their living by touring now,
Mhm.
and so any any marketing, any advertising you can get is well worth it. And uh, there's adverse conditions in touring right now.
Mhm.
Obviously everybody knows it's expensive. So a lot of bands, just can't tour
Mhm.
um, because things get more expensive, but the band's incomes don't go up, so it's hard, and um, everybody's got to readjust their bottom line.
Mhm.
And for any publicity for I guess legacy bands,
Mhm.
I think it's good. I think it's healthy, and I think it's gonna bring a lot of attention to Judas Priest. So I'm all for it.
Mhm.
I would have voted for them.
So we've been spending a little bit of time here with Michael Wilton of Queensryche. The record is called Digital Noise Alliance. It is a great record. It encompasses everything that a fan loves about Queensryche. It's out everywhere now. The band is on tour with Judas Priest through December. Michael, thank you so much for taking the time to do this. I really appreciate another chance to get to talk to you and always look forward to it.
Thank you so much for having me. The guys appreciate the support and the kind words, and supporting live music and supporting Queensryche. We'll see you in the future.
You got it. As I think I mentioned when we got to meet and do this in person last time, Queensryche has been pretty much my favorite band since I was a kid. So it's always good to get to talk to you and hear that you're still putting out fantastic music. So best of luck with the record and the tour.
All right, take care.
You got it. Bye.
Bye.